Except he's a
Having a
Wookiee, so
bad
he was
day.
like, you made him way more accurate and appropriate. um, I'm not doing well with the Wookiee community. Let me tell you.
Hello, and welcome to Star Gaze. We're not only force sensitive, we're fierce sensitive.
Oh, I like the
Yeah.
attitude you put into that.
You know,
Yeah, you were feeling it.
I
You
was.
you knew your line and you were delivering, Henny.
I
Okay.
was the character, like I was really, I
It
was
was
feeling my inner
mind
Jasmine
blowing.
Kennedy.
Yeah. Ew. Ew. She's gross. I'm just kidding. I don't know. We're really hard on Jasmine Kennedy for no reason other than
She's
we've made her Jar
annoying.
Jar. Okay.
I mean, that's why. Like, let's talk about it. This is our moment. Let's take it. In that season, she is annoying AF. I'm sure she's wonderful, but the way she is portrayed in that season is not her best. Personally. But I do think she's a fierce queen, and I think she's an amazing lip syncer, and I'm sure she's much better than how they portrayed her.
Yeah, no. Sorry, Jasmine.
I think you're fabulous for what it's worth.
Really awkward with you standing right there.
What's
What's it? Let's fucking go.
it? You're still gonna get sent home.
Mr. Destroy You. That one wasn't my best, but it was there.
Better than mine.
Not a lot's changed. We literally just recorded part one of the Clone Wars, and this is part two. So no real business, no catching up. Let's just get to the meat and potatoes.
Yes. Seasons 5 through 7.
So on the wild cliffhanger we left you on, Maul came back from the dead as a crazy spider homeless person. Only for it not to go well when Savage Opress brings him back. Turns out he maybe wasn't as ready for All Stars as he thought. We're gonna talk about that in a second. He really tries though. He's like, "Look, Obi-Wan, I've lined up all these people. I'm out here doing all this crazy stuff." And Obi-Wan was like, "Aren't you that one guy from
From season 3?
It's like, whoa." He was like, "I was a Padawan when I killed you. How fast could I kill you now that I'm a master?" Oh, wow. So let's dive right in, right? Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Bring him back. Bring back our girls.
Why does it make me so little? Make me cry.
It's more for time.
What if I just kept fucking going?
God,
There
Luke,
we
shut
go. Sorry, let's go back down a little bit. Okay. Oh, you can't even see. Oh, there. My notes.
Like, what are you doing?
Hi, everybody.
Is there a fan? Like, is this will be a pop moment?
Crack, crack, crack. That wasn't as funny as I thought it was.
Great. It's wonderful.
Okay. So, that's where we left you off last time, and I thought we would start off again with a little bit of trivia, warm ourselves back up as we wrap this up. So Tom Kane narrated the series for each episode. He does like this old timey classic kind of like narration over each episode, like almost like very Flash
Meanwhile,
Gordon-y. Yeah, it's very that. Um, he also voices Admiral Yularen, but he does the exact same voice for both for whatever reason. He also voices Yoda in the series. Fun fact.
oh yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm. And he's voiced other characters across the Star Wars media and video games, including characters like Admiral Akbar and all kinds of other characters, mainly in the video games. Um, he is best known for voicing Professor Utonium in the Powerpuff Girls, and he voices him in the Powerpuff Girls. He's also Darwin in the Wild Thornberries, which is cute. Love Darwin.
Yeah.
Um, Soon after recording season 7, though, Tom Kane suffered a stroke and had to retire from voice acting, which is really sad. So now he don't do it no more. Jedi Master Plo Koon has no dialogue and is barely in the prequel trilogy. However, he's Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi, so he has a very prominent role in the Clone Wars, and he's the most featured council member aside from our main people like Obi-Wan. And Yoda, I think, gets more appearance time than he does. But other than that, it's Plo Koon, baby, all the way.
I love Plo Koon. He's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And he's also voiced by James Arnold Taylor, who voices Obi-Wan Kenobi. The first 2.5 seasons, and some later in the seasons, aired out of order, much like you talked about. So just as a reminder, we're gonna run into that a little bit again in part 2.
Much to my chagrin.
Yeah, so stupid. This is not new to Lucasfilm or to George Lucas. He loves doing this shit for some reason. He loves confusing every fucking person who watches his stuff. He also did this for the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles TV series. So if you watch that show, it's a hot mess. All right, talk about that. While never confirmed that this is why she got her name, Obi-Wan's secret love interest, Satine Kryze of Mandalore, shares a name with the character Satine in Moulin Rouge, the film of which starred Ewan McGregor, who also played Obi-Wan Kenobi. Weird little synergy there.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised I didn't catch that earlier. I like that movie.
Yeah. So a lot of people think it's a nod to Ewan McGregor and Moulin Rouge, but that was never like confirmed. Ian Abercrombie voices Palpatine in this series. He does a fantastic job at it, actually. He was replaced by legendary Tim Curry in 2012 after Ian Abercrombie sadly passed away suddenly. In addition to playing Palpatine, Clive Revel, who voiced Palpatine in the original version of The Empire Strikes Back, so before Ian McDiarmid came and before the special editions wiped him out of existence entirely, him and Ian had a weird like career like synergy thing going on where they've both played Palpatine. They both had roles in Star Trek TV series and both played Alfred Pennyworth in different Batman adaptations. Yeah, Ian's a great Alfred, actually. That's where I first saw him, was playing Alfred, and I think he's fantastic. Katie Sackhoff plays Bo-Katan Kryze in this series, and she was cast due to her portrayal of Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica, in which the characters have similar personality traits. She would get to play her in live action in The Mandalorian. So she gets to play 2 live action badass sci-fi chicks, which is good for her. She also does, I wish I could think of the name. I can't remember what it is, but she was in another sci-fi series recently, and it was really good, actually. A handful of Clone Wars characters have made it to live action, including Bo-Katan, Cad Bane, Saw Gerrera, Ahsoka Tano, and Hu Yang, which is the lightsaber droid professor guy, Master Hu Yang. Um,
Cad Bane looks super cool live action.
yeah. And of course, Ahsoka and Hu Yang are going to appear together in the Ahsoka live action series. So very cool for Hu Yang. I forgot what I was going to say. Fuck it. Something else I was going to say before we dive into this, and I forgot what it was. Whatever. We're ready to dive into some good shit though, because this is where shit gets real.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is where we start getting some budget.
Yeah. The prize money is way better this season.
Absolutely.
The contestants' looks on the runway are fire.
They started giving him that stipend.
Yep, it is great. Okay. So season 5 opens with Revival, which is a pickup of where we've left um Maul and Savage Press. My notes for it just say Maul loses. Maul does not do well. Um so this is the one where I believe they encounter the pirates. So and Hondo's gang, and
Mm-hmm.
then Obi-Wan goes, and they're like, "We're gonna get Obi-Wan again," and Obi-Wan, for the most part, whoops their ass. But there's also a really cool moment. Actually, no, I'm confusing. I was gonna say Asajj Ventress helps him, but I'm confusing with it. Different episode. Different episode. Incorrect. But this is the one where they're fleeing for their lives. Their ship crashes. Maul gets shot in the leg. um, not great. Not great. All because of little Obi. Hi, baby. He's like, stop looking at me like that. It's making me
I hate
uncomfortable.
it.
Why are you looking at me like Padme looks at me? Uh,
She's a freak.
always inviting me and Satine to her room for some reason. You know, she's into it. You know, she's into it. There's also the Onderon arc, which I like mostly. That's a war on two fronts, front runners, the soft war, and tipping points, and that's where we get our first introduction to Saw Gerrera. It's a really important arc, and but I would say that it's now mainly important because of stuff that came after.
Mm.
So where Saw gets a lot more airtime, like in Rogue One and things like that, that really beefed up Saw's presence in the galaxy. Um,
How about you? I was
otherwise,
not a huge fan of Saw.
I hate Saw. It's not he's not my favorite character. I think his whole arc is bizarre. Um, the way we go from who he is when we meet him to suddenly he's Forrest Whitaker. I don't. It's very odd to me. Um, I appreciate, I guess, how many layers now they've added to him. He's a more complex character, and so when he does pop up, things tend to be interesting.
Mm.
But especially in this arc, when we meet him, like I couldn't stand him, and so when Rogue One came out, I was like, "Oh, he's this guy." Um,
What happened?
of all the people to bring from he was the first Clone Wars live action person. And I was like, why are we starting with him? Very bizarre. And Forrest Whitaker, like, clearly didn't watch Clone Wars. Like, he has his own version of what Saw
That
Gerrera
is.
is. Yeah. Um, gross. Um, there's the Younglings arc, which I love and hate at the same time. I hate because kids annoy me, especially on this show. But there's some stuff to love here. So that is The Gathering, a test of strength bound for rescue, a necessary bond. So that's when they do the gathering to get their kyber crystals, and Ahsoka's guiding them, and then they get attacked by Hondo.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Um, I love getting to see the gathering and what that looks like for a Jedi. Like, on Ilum, getting their crystal, which looks
Mhm.
really cold. I'm like, could we like they don't have kyber crystals in Hawaii? Uh most coldest place ever. Why? Um, and also Yoda's an asshole. Can we talk about that? He's like, hey,
Oh
you're
yeah,
all
how
like,
if they don't make it, they don't make it.
yeah, you're like, you're all 10, but I guess you've had a good run if you get out of here.
Good luck.
Yeah. And it gives us Gunji, our Wookiee Jedi. Yeah, he's so
Yes,
cool. And he
I
popped
love
up in the Bad
Ganji.
Batch season 2. Oh, I love Gunji. He's so cute. I'm really glad he wasn't brutally murdered. Good for Gunji.
Right?
I'm assuming maybe the others made it out, but it's not looking good for Takuni or whatever the fuck her name was. Uh, uh, uh
I think that's what made that a little more morbid, knowing that these were all still younglings and what happens in Revenge of the Sith. You're
yeah.
like, oh, not so cute.
Oops. So fun fact, this arc was like a backdoor pilot of sorts because they were gonna have their own spin-off. And then it didn't happen.
Because they all died. Right?
Because the audience murdered them.
Because they were eliminated very early
um
by a
yes.
judge.
And executioner. Um I'm like, I wonder if they were at the temple when Anakin hit them. Like, and Gunji was like, "Whoa, dude! Remember we were super cool with Ahsoka? We were buds. Yeah. Whoa. Except he's a
Having a
Wookiee, so
bad
he was
day.
like, you made him way more accurate and appropriate. um, I'm not doing well with the Wookiee community, let me tell you. Uh,
The Star Wars furries are furious with you.
oh, fuck those freaks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live like a Wookiee on Kushishik. No. It's the whole episode now. Dude, I'm laughing too. No, I'm just kidding.
What's the next episode?
um, what follows is one of my least favorite arcs ever on the show, which is the D Squad arc, which is a very unfortunate name. Um, it is what was on the matching T-shirts of me and all my friends at Pride. Just kidding.
Yes.
D Squad. I've never even been to a Pride. I'm like, I'm out there getting deep. No, I've never been to a Pride. My life is boring. I'm a parent. Um, but this is all the droids that get together for a secret mission. So it's secret weapons, a sunny day in the void, missing in action, and point of no return. It's a very long arc. Um, I will say there's a nostalgia factor to it. They are getting their own comic series. If it hasn't released already, I haven't been tracking it because I hate this arc. Um,
The droid arcs are rough.
yeah, but a lot of people are excited that they're reuniting, like they're a band. That they're reuniting for this comic arc. So that's cool. But it does give us Gregor, who's the first clone super commando we ever see, and he's pretty cool. And he does show up in Rebels. He's part of the old folks in the trailer park with Rex. He's awesome. He has a lot of brain damage, goes a little cuckoo bananas, and he just popped up again in Bad Batch, so that's cool. So this is where we meet Gregor. Then we go back to Maul because man, you just cannot keep this man down. And now it's his time to shine. It's his time to take over the competition. He thinks he's gonna come back. He's gonna Kylie Sonic love this thing. Let's see how it goes.
250,000 credits on the line.
Right. These episodes were Eminence, Shades of Reason, and The Lawless. So that's where Maul and Savage, they're rescued by Death Watch. They manipulate Death Watch into helping them form a crime syndicate, which is Maul's master plan. And he's a good business person. I will say Maul for what he's worth. He's a good business person. So anyway, he starts World of Wonder. I'm just kidding.
It took me a minute.
But the way the past few seasons of Drag Race have gone, I'm like, Darth Maul has to be running this company because wow. Anyway, so they form a crime syndicate and then they take over Mandalore. And then Sidious has a few thoughts about that. And I love that Sidious just in this episode, like after all of this happened, all this effort, whoa, he just chopped off my arm. That was weird. He was like, what are you talking about? Don't tell this embarrassing story. But after all that effort he puts into it for like several episodes, there's just one shot of Palpatine looking out the window, and he's like, I gotta fucking deal with this now. He just gets in his car. He shows
up as a lip sync assassin.
Yeah. He just gets in his car. He drives over there and he's like, look, this is the end of this.
before he comes out, it's that whole bit where they're like getting ready and talking to the camera. I'm so excited to be back. I'm about to slay.
Things were rough for me after last season. The fans will see me different this time. Boy, did we. So Sidious just wrecks Maul and Savage. Like Savage, he's like, dude, you're not even canon. Yeet. And he just takes Savage right the fuck out. And then he decides to keep Darth Maul alive because Dave Filoni, different people. Dave Filoni, George Lucas, they're not going to kill him again because people got upset the first time they did it. So like, we're going to keep him alive. And then we don't find out what happens because then Clone Wars soon gets canceled, but we'll get there. And then there's what I call the Fugitive arc because it's based heavily on the movie The Fugitive. That's Sabotage, the Jedi who knew too much to catch a Jedi, and the wrong Jedi, which is where Ahsoka gets framed for a temple bombing by Barriss Offee. And the Jedi really screw her over. Man, do they screw her over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they don't apologize for it at all. And so she dips right on out, as she should. Bye.
Good for her.
Yeah. So she leaves the show. She quits. She hiding closets herself.
She sure does.
Yep. She's like, we don't need to vote tonight.
Eliminate myself.
I know I rock Snatch Game. Lipstick. Doesn't matter. Yep.
And what a low moment for the Jedi Council.
Dude, they're a fucking like I hate people who really love council members because they clearly don't understand like how fucked up they are. Like,
yeah.
And Obi-Wan is like Obi-Wan doesn't stick up for her. And she remembers. Trust me. She remembers that. The only one who sticks up for her is Anakin. Um, and they really screw him over too. They don't pay attention to him. So what happens to him is a big part of this. And we've talked, and I think we've talked about this on our, I don't remember if we talked about it in our past episodes, but Ahsoka, for the most part, is the only person who can really convince Anakin to do anything.
Oh yeah.
And he's become quite dependent on Ahsoka, actually, I think, for that reason. Um, and she leaves because he's not willing to leave. She's gotta leave. And so now who does he have? He has Obi-Wan, who's demonstrated several times like he can't really trust and isn't really safe to tell him anything. And so who does he have?
Papa Palpatine.
You like that, Master?
No. But it really, I mean, it really is like the biggest domino
Yeah.
to, on his
This is
journey.
the one. When I got to these episodes on my first watch, I was like, whoa.
Mhm.
Because my whole problem too with Ahsoka was she doesn't fit in the timeline. Like what happens to her? So if
Right.
you're gonna shoehorn someone in, man, this is how you do it. Like this was so heavy, and it adds so much weight to everything else in the prequels. And then even more so when she comes back. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so season 6 is kind of a mess. So around this time, so season 6 was already renewed. They were planned. They had lowered the episode count at this point. They had ordered, I think, 13 or 14 episodes. And only a handful were completed. But for the most part, all the episodes were pre-recorded already. They were ready to go. It was just the animation they hadn't figured out. Then the merger happens, right? So, and then Disney swiftly says, nope, no more, and cancels it. Mainly because Cartoon Network is a Warner Brothers property. So, um, that was a contract Lucasfilm had with them. In fact, the Clone Wars film was released under Warner Brothers with the Warner Brothers logo. So Disney, of course, wasn't going to let that continue. And they immediately axed it, and then immediately greenlit Rebels, actually. And so there was this weird transition period where really everything that was left from season 6 and everything that was planned for season 7, because they had expected at least a season 7 and maybe beyond. And so all that went out the window, became a big problem. Then they worked out a deal where they were willing to put it out, and they put it out on Netflix. Because, remember when everything was on Netflix?
Right. Netflix's heyday.
Yeah, remember when they were the only ones doing it. So it became known as the Lost Missions, and that's when they completed what they could, and they put it out on Netflix. But included in that, am I lagging to you?
No.
Okay, sorry. Um,
Oh, well, now you are. You
no,
disturbed the force.
yeah, that's probably my
I mean, your
camera.
audio isn't, just your visual is a little bit.
Whatever. Sorry, guys. It's probably my camera getting warm. I don't know why I said it like that. Warm. Heating up my
With that like
camera.
chest
Yeah,
section.
yeah. Let's not do that anymore. Um. So there was a lot of arcs and stuff, some that were planned for season 6, and then stuff that they were going to put into season 7, and all this stuff that didn't end up getting completed. Some of it is, you can still find it on YouTube, actually, where rough animation models were done for it, like they were in the beginning stages. Some stuff was just storyboarded, but they were pre-recorded already, and then some stuff was just kind of planned and never really got there. So I'm gonna go over that after we dive into this season 6 stuff. So season 6, when we got it, was this. And mainly the point of season 6 and when they were developing it was used to kind of resolve some really open-ended plot points that they had yet to address, that the prequel films had opened up. So that includes stuff like Cypher Diaz, right?
Mhm.
And the creation of the clone army, Order 66, like all of this stuff that came about that they hadn't really touched on at all yet in the Clone Wars series. So they decided to cram it all in here.
Click.
So we so we open up with the Order 66 conspiracy arc, which was really cool actually. It's done very like espionage and it's all about government conspiracies and stuff like that. Really cool. So those episodes are The Unknown, Conspiracy, Fugitive, and Orders. So that's when Fives discovers like all this stuff is happening. He discovers the chip, and he tries to get the information out there. And because of this massive government cover up, he never makes it there and he dies, which is a little, it's a little close to home. A lot of that stuff happens
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in Clone Wars that's like really close to real life.
Oh yeah.
A
Oh
little
yeah.
uncomfortable.
Concerningly so. So that's when we lose Fives, and Fives of course is part of that initial Domino squad we got, so makes it extra sad. Then we get the Rush Clovis arc because for some reason we need to dive more into Padme's life. So her ex comes back again, and those episodes are An Old Friend, The Rise of Clovis, and Crisis at the Heart. Um, it's not the best arc to me, but it is fairly significant. There's a huge, like a lot of it's really dry. It's very political. He takes over the banking clan. It's like this whole thing, um, which is fine. And if you're into that, like for adult audiences, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like Andorish. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an
Um,
interesting arc.
yeah. Um, Anakin has some like we get a really good peek at Anakin's darker side in that episode, in that arc, and
Several red flags.
yeah, girl, I'm like, Padme, what does it take? What does it take, girl?
A lot, evidently.
And at the end of that arc, she thinks nothing went wrong. Everything is great. Anakin is great. No notes.
This is awesome.
Padme sucks. Yeah, just,
By no means is a role model.
no. Like, really, if you are a Padme fan out there, like if Padme is your bitch, like you love her, get over it because she's awful and she has a lot
Stop
of
it.
stuff she needs
Get
to
some
work
help.
through. Yeah. Do mm-mm. Ugh, stupid bitch. Um, there's the Disappeared parts 1 and 2, which is a Jar Jar arc with Mace Windu, but it involves Mother Talzin, so I like it. And that's when we see Jar Jar almost single-handedly take down the head witch of the Night Sisters. Great stuff.
The most powerful character.
Yeah. Jar Jar is amazing. There's one episode dedicated to Cypher Diaz, which is the Lost Ones, and that's when they begin investigating the creation of the clone army and what happened to Cypher Diaz. And the first time we hear them even really use the word for the most part, except for a little bit, like one line in the films. Dooku's Sith name, which is Darth Tyrannus, which for the most part we find out they don't even really know about. So I'm like, you know, Count Dooku now is a Sith Lord, and you never thought to be like, well, what's his Darth name?
What's his drag name?
He's like RuPaul Childs. He just uses the same name for everything.
Just who he is.
Why not? Yeah. So it is one episode, but it's a good one, honestly. And then there's the final arc of the season, which is Voices, Destiny, and Sacrifice. And that's when Qui-Gon reaches out to Yoda, and
Oh,
Yoda
this is a really cool art.
Yoda begins his training toward immortality to explain the very end of Revenge of the Sith when he randomly tells Obi-Wan, like, hey, Qui-Gon's been chatting with me. He's like, what? Why haven't
Like
we
call me
discussed
long
that?
distance.
Yeah. And that's where the season ends for the most part. So it's a little weird. But I will say it's the most like we get a lot more done this season.
Mhm. It's almost the way that it just kind of wraps things up in their individual stories. It's almost like Tales of the Jedi.
Right. Yeah. It's got very much Tales of the Jedi vibes, which I like. Like very independent arcs told back to back, focusing on different things, which is great. Um, so now we're gonna get into some of the unfinished, canceled stuff and some of the stuff that was repurposed. So there's what's called the Clone Wars Legacy, which is what this group of stories is called now. So even though all this stuff was unfinished in the Clone Wars, it's all considered canon. It still happened. It's out there. And other pieces in the canon, including the Mandalorian Book of Boba Fett, all those reference stuff that happened in this period of time of cancellation. So there is the Darth Maul, son of Dathomir arc. The initial episode titles for that was going to be The Enemy of My Enemy, A Tale of Two Apprentices, Proxy War, and Showdown on Dathomir. So again, Darth Maul's been captured by Palpatine. We were going to dive into that. We were going to dive into him being rejected by Palpatine, being replaced by Dooku, all of that stuff. We were going to dive into his heritage on Dathomir, being the son of Mother Talzin. A lot more of his origins story was going to be covered here. Really sad we didn't get it. I wish that they had still made it.
Yeah.
But instead it was released as a comic series called Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. So in that arc, we dive into all that stuff, but then what have become known as the Maul DeLoreans. They rush to break him out. He gets to go back to building his syndicate again, going back to Mandalore, all of that stuff. So he gets to be right back on track. In the comics, he still just calls it his regular crime syndicate. Solo, a Star Wars story, kind of retcon that a bit by making him head of Crimson Dawn, and so now those two concepts are fused together. I mean, he may not be a Dark Lord of the Sith, but he is a Lord of marketing because he knows a rebrand when he sees it. And he took that opportunity, baby, and it worked out because Crimson Dawn becomes his best venture into the underworld yet. So that was that arc. There was also the Crystal Crisis on Utapau arc. So we were going to get another look at Utapau, which we see briefly in Revenge of the Sith, and it was going to partially explain why Grievous and everybody set up shop there when they do, because they've been there before. And that was that involved a giant kyber crystal that was on the planet. Obi-Wan and Anakin were sent to investigate what that's about. And they find out that it's the Separatists are using it to develop a weapon because, again, they're developing the Death Star, right? We found that out in Attack of the Clones. The Geonosians are helping build the Death Star, and now they need something to power it. So now they're looking for crystals and shit that can power the Death Star. And then eventually what the end of this arc was going to be was that they foil that plan. The Republic gets all of the intel for that. And then Palpatine justifies a secret project to continue building the Death Star. So that way, when the war ends and everything goes back to normal, he already has
There's
the
a
Death
reason
Star.
for having it. Yeah.
Right. Because on either side, he was the one building it all along.
Right.
So it was going to involve them, keeping them away from this giant kyber crystal. They were going to destroy the kyber crystal, and they would be like, okay, save the day. And then there was a part at the very end where Yoda tells them about how Sith Lords have done that in the past, where they've used kyber crystals and abused them to build super weapons. And they were like, oh, maybe that's what this guy's planning. The one time they even come close to really figuring out maybe what's going on, and then they still don't really do anything. I'd be like,
You're like,
okay.
nah,
I'd be
it's
like,
not
okay,
that.
give me a list of everywhere we know there's kyber and let's go. But I guess not. Idiots.
If only we were on the council.
I know. And we'd have way better outfits.
Oh, absolutely.
Douches. Not a single rhinestone. Like, are you kidding me? um
The Force is fabulous. I don't know why they don't see this.
There's what's become now known as the Dark Disciple arc, which was, of course, turned into the novel Dark Disciple. You touched on that in part one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to be an 8-part arc, which also makes me sad. This was going to be the longest arc we ever had on the show.
And it would have been cool to see.
Yeah. And it was essentially all about, for the most part, Ventress. This was her time to shine. It was her send off. We were going to be really doing Ventress right this time. And we don't get it. And I really wish they had, especially when they brought back season 7, I wish they had just made this arc. Just do it. But I guess not. It's now in a novel. It's a really good book. You should read it. The original episode titles were as follows: Lethal Alliance, The Mission, Conspirators, Dark Disciple, Saving Voss Part 1, Saving Voss Part 2, Traitor, and The Path. So the gist of that arc is that the Jedi Council, because now they're just fucking going wild. They're doing whatever the hell they want now. Morals be damned. And they're like, what if we just like brutally murder Dooku? Like, fuck it. Like, let's just go find him.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, like, let's just assassinate the motherfucker. And the council's like, whoa.
Well, we
But
don't want to do
also,
it.
yeah, like, but that would make us look bad. So what if we like secretly like come up with this way of doing it where we still look right, which is so shady. So then they're like, remember that Ventress chick?
Anyone still have her number?
Yeah. And she's trying to make a name for herself. She's doing things right. She's got a new yellow saber. She's doing fine out there.
She's getting bookings.
Yeah. And then here the Jedi come to ruin her life. And they also task Quinlan Voss, who's kind of like their Jedi Special Forces person, to do it, because that seems like a great idea. Let's put him with a former Sith assassin to go assassinate a Sith Lord. Everything should be fine. Yeah. So one, already right out the gate, like Asajj Ventress is not a Jedi. She's very in the middle. So as it is, she's like, well, if I'm gonna play for your team, maybe you should play a bit of mine. Like, I'm gonna teach you some dark-sided stuff, because that's who you're gonna have to be to kill this motherfucker. And then also, maybe I'll let you play inside my lady bits. Why
Dark
not?
sided.
Dark-sided. Spooky ooky kooky. Oh man. What kills me though is, one, they mess it up, which Ventress warns them. Like, she's like, dude, I've tried this before. It doesn't go well.
Been there. He annihilated my whole sorority.
Yeah.
No.
And I think she even says something, I think, to Obi-Wan to the effect of like, like, this is the Jedi way now. Okay. And also,
Okay, Obi.
and if that's what you guys are subscribing to, why don't you guys go do it? Why are you pawning it off on Quinlan? So you could wash your hands of it and act like it didn't happen. Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then sure enough, it goes bad. It goes real bad. And Quinlan Voss like turns to the dark side for a while. It's this whole thing. Um, and the Jedi really don't give a fuck. So there's that. But Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss are in love. She eventually gets to him. It's this whole thing. But what's really sad is Asajj Ventress has to sacrifice herself to save Quinlan because the Jedi fucked all this bullshit up. Um, and that's where her story ends. She gets electrocuted to death, like with his lightning. It's not even like like she has a rough exit, baby. Like,
Justice for
oof.
Asajj.
I know. Um, and then Obi-Wan and which first of all, they forgive Quinlan. What?
Hey, so all that dark sided stuff, like,
Yeah,
it's all right.
he becomes the new Asajj Ventress, and they made her a war criminal and all of this other stuff. And they're like, "Hey, Quinlan, rough patch. Um, maybe you know you have someone tag along with you for a while on your missions, but for the most part, like we're good, baby. Like,
Yeah, just take some sick days,
yeah,
go to a spa.
it's so oh my god, the Jedi Council fucking annoys me so much. Um, and then Quinlan Voss and Obi-Wan take Asajj's body to Dathomir, and they lay her to rest there. And in the book, it says like they could hear like the ghosts of her sisters and things like that, like taking her, um, which is really sad.
Yeah.
um, I feel like Asajj Ventress as a character deserves this on screen, personally. But it really bothers me that it's just in this book that
It'd make a cool movie.
it would. And it would be cool to see it. I like do it in live action. Why not?
Yeah. Who would play her?
Um, Sasha Velour.
Yes.
uh,
Fierce.
I don't
Sasha,
know
stay
who
tuned.
would play her. I really don't know. Oh, I would think about that. I'm gonna do a fan casting. I think for that, that would be really cool.
We'll
And
put
it'd
it
be
out there.
and like let's work in Mother Talzin in there. Let's get live action Mother Talzin.
Hmm.
Which side note, the person who voices her also voices Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
That's your tidbit of the day.
Wow.
Um,
Or
she
an
loves playing.
educational program.
She loves playing space witches. That's all she does. Um,
And why not?
yeah, why not lean into that? There was going to be a planned Kashyyyk arc that involved Yoda and the Bad Batch defending Kashyyyk against Trandoshans and Separatists, which probably would have been cool to see.
Mhm.
There was going to be, and a lot of these ones I'm mentioning now, like they really didn't get past the initial planning stages. Some of them were scripted out, some of them were just kind of like conceptualized and outlined.
That
There
would have
was
explained
gonna
why Yoda was on Kashyyyk.
right, and why he
And yeah.
has good relations with the Wookiees or whatever the fuck he said.
Hmm.
Um, there was going to be an arc with that was focused only on Rex and R2 and an adventure together, and it was going to be done in a style similar to Top Gun. I don't know what that looks like, but it sounds interesting.
Hmm.
um I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation probably, but there was gonna be a Yuzon Vong arc, which are it's a species from Legends, and I believe they're from the Thrawn novels. Initially, they were a big enemy of the Chiss, and I think they had interesting like abilities, like they were Force immune, like you couldn't use the Force on them in any way. Um, supposedly for the Clone Wars arc, they weren't gonna make them that extreme. But they were also going to keep them pretty mysterious. Like they weren't really going to actually feature them that much, because what they were going to do was introduce them, but alien abduction style. So you don't really like totally see them, but it was going to be about like they abduct somebody. I don't remember who they planned on that being. And it was going to be like an X-Files esque arc, which
Ooh,
is what
that
they
would have been
like.
cool.
Their model for it was the X-Files, which I would have loved. Like, where's that?
Yeah.
And then there was going to be a Return to the Jedi Temple arc where we explore the Jedi Temple. It is canon, and we've talked about it, I think, on one of our past episodes. But the temple was built on top of Sith shrines and stuff like that, which is similar to real life, like the Vatican, I think, and churches, like they tend to like cleanse
Hmm.
unholy grounds by just building their own churches on top of them. And Palpatine was using the shrines under the temple to fuck with the Jedi and do a lot of his shady shit. Um, and they were going to explore that in this arc. Um, and it was going to be the initial return of, well, not initial, because she was going to do her walkabout arc, but Ahsoka was going to return for this arc. And it was going to be about her learning about something going on in the Coruscant Underground that would somehow be related to this. And she goes to warn the Jedi Council. For the most part, they fucking blow her off. And then Yoda was going to get captured and held captive in the Sith shrines under the temple. And Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan were going to go have to rescue him.
Ooh, that would have been
Mhm.
cool.
And it was going to involve Sidious simultaneously trying to break into the holocron vault. And Ahsoka was going to be the one to stop him.
Hmm.
Yeah. Which, where's that? I want to see that.
Right.
Um, and there was going to be a return to Mon Cala to follow up with everything that happened in the Water War arc. And then a bounty hunter arc, which involved Cad Bane raising, well, not raising, but I guess training young adult Boba Fett now. And that was where we were going to see Boba Fett take on Jango's armor and repurpose it for his own. And then they were eventually going to have like a shootout, which puts the dent in Boba's helmet there. And that is still canon, and that's partially referenced in their encounter on the Book of Boba Fett.
Right. I was gonna say, didn't they show something like that as a flashback or something?
They mainly just mention it. Like he mentions that
Oh, okay.
When he was with Cad Bane, he was like more impressionable and he was younger. Um, and he basically tells him like, "We're not doing that again. Like, I don't give a fuck about you. Get off. Get off. I'm now the Hut King or whatever the fuck I think I am, and now you need to get the fuck out of here." He's like, I own all of this on Tatooine. Yeah, great.
You're doing great for yourself.
Right. And then there were other arcs that would still actually end up on screen and be made for season 7, which included the Siege of Mandalore, the Bad Batch arc, and Ahsoka's Walkabout arc. So that brings us to season 7. So after years after cancellation, Disney heard everybody's pleas and cries and allowed Lucasfilm to make the Clone Wars season 7 and properly end out the series, which again, properly, I don't know, because I think a lot of these other stuff I think they should have greenlit the full thing. Like, let's make it
Yeah.
everything you had planned on making and let's do it.
Or done like 2 seasons, like 7 and 8.
Right. But instead, they only made 12 episodes. And so these are the arcs within those. First of all, season 7 also was out of order for no damn reason other than the fact that I think they wanted to put Ahsoka's arc and Maul's arc with the Siege of Mandalore together at the end. But really, Ahsoka's Walkabout arc takes place first. And you can tell if you're really paying attention that it is out of order. So if you're going to watch season 7, watch Ahsoka's Walkabout arc first. But in actual release order, here's what we got. So we got the Bad Batch arc, which was the Bad Batch, a distant echo, on the wings of Kiradex, and unfinished business, which is where the Bad Batch is introduced. They find out Echo is alive. Echo becomes part of the Bad Batch. It was that whole thing.
Or
yeah, it is cool. I like the Bad Batch. And then there's Ahsoka's Walkabout arc, which is Gone with a Trace, Deal No Deal, Dangerous Debt, and Together Again. And that's when Ahsoka is still trying to figure her life out and where she fits in the world, trying to lay low. And she comes across the Martez sisters, who initially in the initial arc, when it was planned, was one singular male character. And for some reason for this, they decided to split them into 2 sister characters. I don't know why. And they became 2 of the most hated characters in Star Wars history. I also don't understand why. Well, actually, I do. They're kind of annoying on this, but but they're fine. They're whatever. They're there. But Ahsoka helps them out. They get captured by the Pikes. I almost forgot their fucking names. And then Bo-Katan recruits her to help with Mandalore, because Bo-Katan, now realizing maybe joining Death Watch and overthrowing her sister was not the best idea, especially because now her sister's dead.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. She needs to lay a siege on Mandalore, and she doesn't have the forces to do that. So she recruits Ahsoka. And she's like, hey, could you maybe convince your Jedi friends to help me? Obi-Wan won't return my calls.
I think he has me blocked.
Yeah. And Ahsoka's like, maybe. She's like, we're still friends on Instagram, but I think he's muted me. I'm not sure. Which brings us to the Siege of Mandalore arc, which is Old Friends Not Forgotten, The Phantom Apprentice, Shattered, and Victory in Death. A good portion of this takes place concurrently to Revenge of the Sith, but Ahsoka shows up. Obi-Wan's still an asshole to her, and she remembers, and she's not having any Obi-Wan shit no more. Anakin, for some reason, has pervertedly changed her lightsabers. I don't know why he took it upon himself to do that. And then overall, it's just like a really tragic end to everybody's story there. Because they succeed in taking over Mandalore, but if we know from The Mandalorian that soon after that, the Empire swiftly came in, and that's when Bo-Katan has to make a deal with Moff Gideon, which then leads to the Night of 1,000 Tears, where they just fucking destroy the fucking whole thing. Yeah. And it's a big part of Ahsoka and Bo-Katan's relationship, and Ahsoka's relationship with Mandalorians in general, which is interesting. And it looks like we're going to explore a little bit more of that in her series, possibly. Yeah. And Maul's, which, fun fact, and you can see it in this picture, and I don't know if they've canonically made it the same saber or they're just repurposing the design, but there's his half of his original blade, which he has kept around for the most part. But the other half that he's now attached to it, yes, that was Ventress's yellow lightsaber. So, and they haven't said it's to them it's the same one, but that is the design that they had used for Ventress's yellow saber. So in my mind, he gets it on Dathomir. So
it'd be a
that.
cool flashback.
I know, and a really cool way, because they never really interact at all. So it's a kind of a cool tie-in for them. But yeah, and Ahsoka and Maul then have a big showdown, and they have kind of a weird relationship after that. And I gotta say, I kind of ship it.
Ship it.
Why not? There's
Yeah.
a there's a moment where he's like, dude, your old boss is about to go fucking crazy. Like he's like, we could handle this whole thing. And really they could. I was like, I'm kind of into this team up. And wow, like cute couple alert. Like I would kind of be into it.
Cute couple alert.
Like why not? Yeah, I'm into a Somal or
So
Malsoka.
I'm done. Masoka.
Malsoka. Yeah. No, you're not into it?
I have to mull it over.
You have to maul it over.
I have to mull it over a bit.
So does she.
Stop.
She's into it. She doesn't like that she's into it. She's into it.
She
Uh,
hates herself for it. I can't resist.
she's like, I feel so dirty, 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 filthy. But
Mommy.
no. Wow. Wow. Look at this picture. Like he's gonna fist the hell out of her. Like, look, she's gonna be a sock puppet by the time he's done with her.
She becomes a Muppet.
Walk a walk.
Stop. Season 2 is going to be great, you guys.
Yay. We haven't changed at all.
No.
Mm, 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 mm. Any other thoughts though on like what did you think, especially season 7? It came so late. Like what did you think as that was coming out?
So let's
But
see,
you
that
hadn't
came out.
had you
Yeah,
even
I hadn't
really
I hadn't watched it yet. So the first
yeah.
time I saw it was when we watched through it. And
Oh,
I remember hearing about it, but I don't remember being like, oh wow, I need to watch this, because I wasn't really into the other seasons when they first aired.
yeah.
So, but when we watched it, I was like, damn, this is good. And then like with the better budget, the better animation, which was really like my big hang up with the earlier seasons. Um,
It's
it was
different.
great. Yeah, it's great.
Hmm.
I wish, I know they never would, but I wish they'd go back and reanimate all of it to that caliber.
They're not gonna do. They didn't even make
No, they
these.
won't.
They didn't even make these other ones. You think they're?
Yeah, I know. I feel like they should though. Like it's such an integral part of their canon story. I think it would be a great service to the fandom, and it would probably be very profitable.
I think a great opportunity to do some of this stuff would be Tales of the Jedi.
Yes,
Like Dark
absolutely.
Disciple could be a Tales of the Jedi story. Honestly,
Absolutely.
I think they would.
It'd be a long one, but it would be a great
Yeah, I
one.
was like, they'd probably have to condense it somehow. Like some of that stuff's getting cut out.
They should just make it a movie. I think it'd be a really cool animated film. If they didn't want to do it live action, it'd be great live action, but if they didn't want to do live
Yeah,
action one to keep it in this universe, it'd be an amazing animated film.
I think so too. But I mean, again,
But then who's gonna write it now?
yeah, that's true. Um,
We won't get
and
new
it,
stuff for a
and
while.
then mainstream appeal. Like I think most people don't know who Asajj Ventress is for the most part,
That's
which
true.
is the sad
She
thing.
is in the Star Wars Villainous game. She is a villain that you can play, and she's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
I
hope they
love
make some
that.
expansions for that.
Yeah, I guess there's ways they could make it appealing actually, but um, I don't know. I wish they would do it on screen. Like there's just so one much to there's so much to unpack about her, and then I don't think we get really enough of her night sister stuff, and there's just so much there.
They could do like a limited series. Like that would be cool.
I wonder because from what I've heard, because we're about to really dive into the Night Sisters in live action, from what I've heard. So Ahsoka's going to deal with that. Morgan Elsbeth, and the trailer seems to confirm it based on the kind of stuff she's doing. What appears to be Night Sister magic. She's going to be confirmed as a Night Sister because that was her initial plan for the Mandalorian, and then they ended up not really touching that on her story. So I think they're going to confirm that, and it's supposed to partially, in some way, intersect with Skeleton Crew.
Hmm.
And Skeleton Crew is going to be about them kind of accidentally being lost in the unknown regions and then finding another group and potentially the original group of Night Sisters.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I have a
Okay.
feeling, and I'm wondering if maybe that's tied to Thrawn in some way, because I'm also like, why is this chick working for Thrawn? But if he's out wandering around the unknown regions, maybe he has something with the Night Sisters. I don't know.
Time will
So
tell.
I know. So part of me is like, well, that would be a great way to discuss Ventress at least and introduce her to a
Right.
more general audience. But if we're doing it a completely different group of Night Sisters, I don't know if we're touching it at all. So I don't know.
Hmm. Hopefully, I'd like to see more media like that.
Yeah, me too, man. Love her.
Even a comic.
I know. I'm like, the book is great. The Dark Disciple book is great, especially the audiobook version. It's good stuff. I kind of want to re-listen to it. But we don't get to visually see it really at all.
Hmm.
Nobody's
And I
drawn
feel like
it.
the Night Sisters are so visually appealing. Like they're so
Yeah,
like entrancing. Like I think it'd be really cool to see it,
yeah. Like what the fuck?
even in comic form.
Yeah, and
Get on it, Disney.
I know, and even like the Jedi video game series, like Fallen Order, Survivor.
Mm,
We do so much with Dathomir and all that stuff. I'm like, where is she?
I
Like,
know.
put
We
her
even
in
have a
something.
Night Sister.
Yeah, discuss her, drop it, do something. Like she's wasted potential there. Um. Anyway, that's it. What's the what's the gayest part for you of seasons 5 through 7?
Oh, seasons 5 through 7. You know, the the sisters that Ahsoka links up with during her little arc there, they agreed gay. They should have been space lesbians.
I can see that. Yeah, they do both. Maybe they're individual sister lesbians. Their own
Yeah, I think they should have just been written as space lesbians, and it would have been way cooler.
space roommates.
Yeah, close friends.
Mm-hmm. Who own cats together.
Mm,
An affinity for building droids. Uh
fixing machines.
mhm. They run a laundromat or whatever. Anyways, yeah, I mean I don't know what the goal was for them. I feel like that I don't think they deserve as much hate as they get, but
There
they're
could have been something there.
right. There's a missed opportunity there. I do. I mean, they're at least people of color, which is cool. Um, but yeah, I would agree
I
with this.
mean, this is them, right? Oh,
Yeah,
chopped
that's
off my
them.
hand behind you.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like,
them.
tell me that doesn't read lesbian.
Yeah, lesbian one, lesbian two. Um, and the leader of the lesbians,
The
Bo
leader
Jan
of the
Priest,
lesbian.
the lesbian queen. Um, If you find her hive, you'll find out where all the other lesbians come from. Sorry, lesbians. We love you though. We do.
Too.
Not we're not like Candy Muse. Um, really, like who? Why? Sorry, different show. Um,
Check out our highlights content for
yeah, seriously,
extensive Candy Muse questions.
dude, for real. Episodes 9 through 11. It's a very telling piece and a discussion on certain lesbian terminology and who should be using that. Mm, Gayest thing for me is I don't know. I feel like there's not much fucking gay here to look at. Like, what am I doing with this?
How do I make this gay?
I am like, let me go through my arts. Like, I don't fucking remember anything gay in here. Not a fucking thing.
Damn shame.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, Mother Talzin is featured heavily in these episodes, and she's in a of herself a gay icon. she's
Oh, absolutely. She is the moment.
Yeah. And Drag Race Dathomir is doing very well from what I hear. She's an amazing host, and
She's really carrying the franchise now.
yeah, I will say the
Sidious is getting old.
contestants
He
are
can't do it
mostly
anymore.
dead. Yeah. Mainstream Drag Race literally wiped them out. But
these things do happen.
Sorry. I was contemplating because in my head I was like, oh, that whole arc would be basically just like RuPaul sending someone to like wipe out the other franchises. And so then my mind immediately
sending Ross Matthews to
yes. So I was like, is Grievous Carson or Ross? And then I was really like trying to like lay that out.
He's like Robo Ross. like a Ross fused with like a Roomba or something.
Okay.
Sure.
Not as
Why
menacing
not?
as General Grievous, but
how can you make Ross Matthews menacing at all?
that's true. I mean, like, what does he collect? He's another top deck collecting.
Another sequin jacket.
Yeah, another sequin, another fucking bedazzled dildo that he's probably using. Some kind of fine addition to my collection.
Opens his coat and it's like several.
Ready to go. Party.
Party. Oh, I can't. Ooh, a door as a Saj. No, you don't see it? We were trying to find a drag queen for her.
I don't know. I don't know that Asajj is worried about her hog body, but
it's true. Well, neither is a door now.
she's getting a new one. Good for her. Bobby was like, "Oh my god, Adore's trans," and I was like, "I could have told you that when she was on American Idol."
Who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, I was like, surprised, said nobody. No, but good for her. Like, she's on a journey. She's her authentic self. We love that. I'm just saying, when she was little Danny Noriega on Idol, I was like, not for long. Yeah. Any other final thoughts?
No, I just wish we had more.
I know. And, I think they're Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi. Like, they're doing some patchwork. Because fans are wanting it. Although Bad Batch is ending. So I don't know what their solution is going to be after that. Maybe do a spinoff and cover some of these arcs. Let's get them done. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening in or watching. If you're listening to us on a podcast platform, please subscribe and write a review. If you are viewing us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment down below, and give us a like. We appreciate you being here with us for episode probably 15, but I could be wrong, of Star Gaze. So now go watch some Star Wars, and may the Fierce be with you.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah. Not a Sith can claw.
Not a Sith King. Not a Sith